core tackle hover rig. This was a design by pro angler Matt Stefan. I've heard a ton about this thing. I had a lot of friends actually reach out to me here at Omnia and say, hey, when are you going to get those hover rigs in stock? And I went after it as soon as we found out that they had hit the market and Matt was kicking these things out. I honestly, initially, saw the rig and thought to myself, well, that'd be great for hanging a bait, right? Initially, my thoughts on it, and that's my fault, I didn't dive in deep on it, but with the popularity of forward-facing sonar and everybody hanging a bait, whether you call it moping like Gussie does, the king of it, or Demiki rigging or whatever, but hanging a bait horizontally in front of a fish right below the boat, that's what I envisioned this thing was. And I was wrong. It does do that. You can absolutely do that. I thought this was a great design to take a salted plastic that's not made of that Elastec, like real more buoyant material plastics, and make it stand out horizontally, which obviously the design of this jig helps you do that. But what it really shines at, and I was really impressed to see, and actually I watched one of Matt Stefan's videos. I encourage you to go check out his YouTube and see what he's doing with this thing. But he was strolling with it, and he was talking about that. When he says hover rig, it is incredible how cool this thing stays at a depth, a desired depth for you while moving. So if you're drifting along or you're actually bumping on and off the trolling, or strolling as you'd call it, you're letting line out, getting this jig down to the desired depth with your favorite plastic on it, your plastic of choice, you can actually work the bait back with your rod back to the boat, and it'll keep it in a desired depth range a lot easier. It sort of hovers, hence the name of the jig. And if you're popping around or moving it, it kind of stays in a desired depth range. It's really cool. We were playing with it in the tank here, and we'll do some underwater shots if we can pull it off. Hopefully this week we can get this thing on the water. But this is one of my favorite little baits. This is the Riot Little Fuzzy Beaver. Great little bluegill imitator if you're fishing some suspended fish. But Luke had tied this up. We put this on there, and we were popping it around in the tank. And what we were surprised to see is how easy it was to keep this hover rig with this beaver on it in the desired depth range. We could just kind of pop it along and it would stay in the desired depth range, even when we imparted action on it and things like that. So it does exactly what it's called, hovering, but you can do that kind of out away from the boat as well, which is really cool. This is going to be a great tool for your forward-facing sonar anglers, even just finesse anglers that are not staring at it with their electronics, of trying to maybe work different depth ranges for suspended fish. Really cool piece of terminal tackle here. I'm very impressed with it. I think a lot of people are going to fish your traditional smallmouthy type baits like a flatworm here on it. And I'm going to try and rig one up on a flatworm here for you and show you how to rig this thing up. Bear with me here. I'm learning myself. This technique is new to me, but I'm already excited to get it out on the water and try it. Check out Matt Stefan's YouTube, and he can kind of go into it better. He probably rigs this thing better than I do, but this is how I did it, and I followed his instructions anyway. You kind of line up your bait with where the nose, the cone of the front of this jig would be, and then I want my hook pointing to go where that cone would end. So I don't want this cone all the way out the nose there. I'm going to pull it back a little bit here, and I know about 3 ribs down is where I need to be, where I go in with my hook point. So I'm going to go in about 3 ribs down here with my hook point, stick it in the flatworm there, and I'm going to thread this down all the way to about the bend of the hook here, where I'm almost hitting to the base of the jig here. I'm going to pop it back out. I'm going to thread this up here now, and I'm going to push the lead all the way down till I get up to the weed guard and the line tie there. As you can see, I'm all the way up there to where the weed guard and the line tie is, the plastic stopping there. Now I'm going to pull this nose piece of the plastic up over the cone. There we go. And there you go. Now I've got a hover rig with a flatworm, perfectly flat there, and I got my hook coming out. And I got that internally weighted system now all the way across, so that now the bait wants to stay flat in the water column as I move it around.